Hello everyone, welcome to St John's for today's act of worship. I realised last week that this year was going to be a year of pilgrimage. We were reminded of that in the intercessions during the service at St Margaret's. And so today for our service, which will be a rather informal service, I thought that we would remember the theme of pilgrimage. It happens that tomorrow, or yesterday when you'll be watching this, is the feast of St James, Santiago, the patron saint of pilgrims. Pilgrims have walked the way to Santiago, the shrine of St James, for centuries, and there are people in our congregation here at St John's who know very much more than I do about that experience. And in fact, I'm reminded that we were scheduled to have a sermon series on pilgrimage and to hear from people like Pippa and others about the experience of pilgrimage in their lives. We're not doing that quite yet, though I hope we'll have the opportunity to do so. Instead, to be a short pilgrimage today. And we're going to start at what was once a pilgrim cross, Neville's Cross as it's known, which can be found just across the road from the church in its little compound there, immediately across from here. It's just over the road, and I'll see you there in a moment. So here is Neville's Cross. Or is it? One of the things I rather like about this battered old monument is that it has a complicated story. Initially there would have been a pilgrim cross on this point. It was placed here on the main road in from the west towards the city of Durham, where pilgrims would have gone on to the shrine of St Cuthbert in the cathedral, which still stands of course today. And crosses were placed at points on the way into the city, at various points, often where the priory or cathedral can first be spotted. And this is placed here on a road which very meaningfully is called Cross Gate, which means the way of the cross, or Cross Gate Peth as it is here a little higher up. But the pilgrim cross is not the only part of this story of this monument. There was a battle here, the Battle of Neville's Cross, 1346, and it seems likely that the old pilgrim cross, this old monument, was rebuilt by the victors at that battle, Percy's and the Nevilles, and it was rebuilt by them, probably following its old form, which would have had a tall shaft with a crucifix at the top of it, but which doubled up then as a memorial to their victory. It's very faded, but there is, or was, an image of the cross as it might have looked at that time here on the information panel. But then of course the story of this cross wasn't finished, because during the Reformation it was seen as an image. It had the image of Christ and Mary and St John the Evangelist on it, and so it was toppled and smashed. And later something else was put in the socket at the top. That's not the topmost part, isn't one of the original parts of the cross. It's thought to be an old milestone, which I rather like, again, because by accident, as it were, this cross with its checkered history rediscovered something of its origins as a waypoint on the way to somewhere, and it is indeed about a mile from the centre of the city. So a reused milepost in this very battered ruin of a cross. This cross which gives its name to our community and to the Church of St John Neville's Cross, as well as to the street, Crossgate, which we share with St Margaret's. It stands battered but intriguing and revealing something of the complexity of the history of this place. So we're going to go and carry on our pilgrimage, not into Durham but in the opposite direction. Going to take the route out towards Bear Park. I think one of the reasons why I like the fact that the monument there is battered and a bit of a odd amalgam of different bits and pieces is that it is in that something of a true reflection of the reality of our human story, the reality of the story of any community, reflecting the mixed up, conflicting amalgam of stories and aspects that make up our individual lives. Monuments have been in the news recently, of course, following the pulling down of the monument to a philanthropist who was also a slave owner, Edward Colston, in Bristol. If you read about Edward Colston from the time when he was memorialised, he comes across as entirely good, generous with his money, in helping the poor of Bristol, children in particular, to be educated, among other things. If you read about Edward Colston in contemporary accounts, of course, he is, or was described on the Today programme on Radio 4 a few weeks ago, as entirely 100% bad and evil, as one of the presenters put it, because the money which he used so generously, to all appearances, was of course money that came from plantations where slaves were ruthlessly mistreated, and he was not only complicit but active in that deplorable trade in human beings. Which perhaps gives us an idea about, well, once again, the complexity that forms human life. Hello. I suspect that none of us is 100% good. None of us is 100% bad. All of us are persons of contradiction. All of us, I suspect, have aspects which we hide and deny even to ourselves. All of us probably have aspects that we're not even consciously aware of in terms of our own biases and prejudices, and these, as is being reflected on at the present time quite rightly, can affect our behaviour and afflict others. But somewhere and somehow in the life and thriving of ourselves and of our societies, we have to acknowledge those complexities. And my hope is that the Christian understanding of personhood, which has been wrought over many generations, but which is founded in Christ and his profound being, that reflecting on that may help us recover and find redemption.